Hello, everyone. I am award-winning author Tina Hogan Grant, author of 16 books, and this is my Cuppa A Natter that I like to do on a Monday, twice a month. I love to invite authors into my home. We talk about books, writing, life as an author, and whatever comes to mind. And tonight, Mark Edward Langley is joining me. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here.
I am so happy to have you. Now, I did have you a little while, well, I think it's been over a year, but yeah. I did have you when your first series came out, which we're going to talk about. But before we get started, I want to read your bio, a very impressive bio, and see who's joining us. So, Mark, where are you joining us from?
In Schererville, Indiana.
I'm sorry,
which
where?
Is in Indiana, just about 25 miles southeast of Chicago.
Okay, nice. Okay, here's your bio. Very impressive bio. Mark Edward Langley is the award-winning author of the Arthur Nakai series and the new Skye Roanhorse novels. He won the Feathered Quill Award for Best Mystery, as well as the Public Safety Writers Association Award, the Firebird Award, and the Pencraft Award for Fiction. He was also an awarded finalist for the Killer Nashville Silver Falchion Award, the New Mexico Arizona Book Awards, the NIEA Awards, and the NYC Big Book Awards. He is currently working on the fourth novel in the Arthur, am I saying that right, Nakai? Is that correct?
Arthur Nakai.
I was close. Series, and the second novel of the Skye Roanhorse series. The first Skye Roanhorse novel, titled BLOODLINES, is currently being submitted to the Big Five publishers by his literary agent. Mark and his wife, Barbara, divide their time between Northwest Indiana and Santa Fe, New Mexico. What a great bio. Congratulations on your awards.
Oh, thanks. They're something I'm glad to get, it's recognition, and I appreciate the recognition on those.
Oh, yeah, that's quite an achievement. I think that's fabulous. Before we get talking about your books, we have quite a few people joining us, and I'd love to say hi to them and acknowledge you all. So let's see who's here. We have Karen here. I'm going to put them up in the screen. Karen is here. Hey, Karen. And we have
Karen, how you doing?
In my group, Facebook user. I know you're in my group because it's private and I can't see your name. If you want me to see your name, you need to hop over to my author page, which is public, and I'll be able to see your name. But if you want to remain anonymous, that's fine too. But I do know you're in my group. But thank you for being here. Karen Gearing is here. Carol is here. Barbara is here from Florida. Darlene Johnston.
Yep.
And another Facebook user in my group. Welcome. I know you know all these people, Mark. Lori is here. And we have another one in the group. And Karen says good day. Oh, Virgie is here. Hey, Virgie. Yeah. So, Mark, let's start. I'm sorry.
I see Virgie on there, yeah.
Yeah, I know you know most of these people. Now, let's start with your first series, the Nakai series. Nakai series. Now, this is 3 books. Is it 3 books?
Yes.
It is 3 books. And when was the first one published?
The first one was Path of the Dead, right here, published in, I believe, 2018. And then since I'm so slow, the second one here, Death Waits in the Dark. I think that was 2020. And then I finally got on the stick. And a year later, we had this one out, When Silence Screams, which I consider so far, until the Skye Roanhorse series now, this is the best thing I wrote up to that point. And I'm very proud of this book.
I love the title. I love the title of that book. It really grabs your attention. Let's just talk a little bit about this series. Number one, I want to know what inspired this series. Where the idea came from?
Well, I remember way back a long time ago thinking about this 25 or so years ago when I was working and single, but tried to, what stemmed a lot of things was I was in a very big car accident on the interstate around Chicago here. And laying in the hospital, nothing was wrong with me. I was fine, which they all were like extremely surprised with. I sat there waiting for the doctor to come in and look at me. And I thought, if this had gone the other way and I was laying here with tubes and stuff and machines going, what have I done with my life? What have I achieved at this point that I would have left behind or whatever, And I thought this was my catalyst to go, you know what? All right, after this, I'll get my new vehicle, whatever that may have been, which ended up being a Ford pickup truck. No kidding. But I said, well, I'm going to go out west. I plotted the whole trip, did the whole thing. I had ideas in my head. And I go, if I'm going to be a writer, because I'd read Tony Hillerman, oh my God, for 30 years before that, and Robert, B. Parker and so forth. And I wanted to do that, but this was my impetus to get going. And I decided I'm going to take a 2-week trip out west and drove the course of the first book's path, dictated everything into a tape recorder, and came back, transcribed it all down, started developing characters, backstories, all that kind of things, putting it all down, ready to go, and started. And then, of course, 20 years go by because you're working and you meet somebody and you get married and the whole 9 yards of that. My wife knew I was writing this book, but I don't thought that it would ever come to fruition. You can say you're doing it and you're doing it, but until you get it out there, you don't know. So I finally got it finished after I retired at the end of 2016. And my wife and I moved to Indiana here, and the funny thing was she was like, "What? You got to get a job." I go, "No, I don't. I've just spent 30 years working. I'm going to do this. If I can't make this work, then I'll find something to do part-time just to kick around or whatever." And got my first book there where I wanted it. Realized I'd found my voice at that point and sent it off to like 17, 18 agents. And I got about 17 rejections and one guy called me.
There you only takes one call.
And there you go. Yeah, he liked it.
One call.
He liked what I sent him, wanted to see the rest of the book. I gave him that. 2 weeks later, he said, "All right, I'm going to take you on." And he submitted it to about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 publishers. And within 2 weeks, I had a 2-book deal at that point.
Congratulations. You wrote your first book later in life, like me. And it took, I'm going to call it a life-changing situation. I had cancer and I had an idea for this book 20 years ago. And we don't know how many days we have left on this earth. And it takes something like being sick, being laid up in the hospital, to push us, to give us that shove to write our books. Have you always enjoyed writing?
I have. I can go back even before that when I thought I was a writer, and was attempting to write things. And I had, you look back at your old stuff you wrote many, many years ago, and you realize this is terrible, but that was the impetus. I started doing that. And then I really, at the point of wanting to get that, I lost my job at one point and I was off work of 8 months. So I had the whole plan out that in the morning between waking up at 6 o'clock or waking up, wife goes off to work from 6 o'clock till noon. I try to find a job, go online, answer all these stupid questions and so forth, and do that. And then from noon to 6, I'd work on the book. Well, in that 8 months, I was working on Path of the Dead here. And that 8 months, I wrote 18 chapters, so that got that going. But then a lot of things happened after that. You get a job and so forth. So it got put aside again until finally in 2016, I just did it. And just put it out there and see what happened.
Did you know it was going to be a series, or did you discover that after writing the first book?
No, I knew from the get-go it was going to be a series. I thought up the first book. I've told people before, and other people have told me, that I do things backwards. I think of a title first, and then create a story around that title. So the first book, I should have changed the title.
That is different. My title doesn't come until I'm writing the book. So
Yeah,
yes,
and that's
you are one of few.
it's odd, but it seems to work, you know.
Mhm.
And I just had these thoughts in my head and did that, and then I just create a story around that. I do a lot of research. I do maybe 2 3 months of research before I do anything, especially on When Silence Screams there, because I had to delve into the world of sex trafficking and the missing and murdered Indigenous women thing way back then, before anybody else was talking about it or had it even on TV. I had the book out, but I talked with one woman for sure that I mentioned in the forward there, but um, the woman who is running the shelter in that book, her backstory is this woman's story. And
Oh
that was
wow.
so dramatic for me to be. I asked her, can I use that in this? And she said, sure, go ahead. She didn't want to read the book because she lived through it,
Right.
but she was willing to go ahead and tell me this and let me use it. So I did that. But, I delved into a lot of things about that. I do in all my books. The second book, Death Waits in the Dark, I delved into the drilling and fracking on native lands and so forth and got that aspect going for that part of it. The first book was pretty much just off the cuff. I had an idea and I ran with that and did it, But the more I started to get really involved with what I was doing and how I wanted my writing to be, that's when I started doing loads of research to get everything correct. I could spend half a day looking for information to make one paragraph true. So every time somebody reads something, I've either driven on those roads or been to that area, or I've researched the hell out of everything I can find, to put it in this book to bring up believability, because it's real. And a lot of people have said, one guy in particular that I did a radio show with, who was a veteran, who said he read the second book there, and he says, the veterans you write about in the book, I feel like they're real.
That's a
So
compliment for you,
that
right?
was a good thing. I was aghast by that, because here was a guy saying they feel like people he knows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a
So,
compliment. I mean, I look at when I'm research, like right now, I'm writing a new book with new places, new characters, a new. I'm not sure if it'll be a series or a standalone, but it's taken to me places I've never been to before, and Alaska, Connecticut, New York, and I'm so thankful I have the internet. I really
yeah,
am.
I mean,
I think about my dad that wrote book in the 70s. He had to go travel to Germany or wherever his book took him.
exactly, yeah.
So kind of thankful. And I really love you too. I want to drive to Hope, and it takes me on the highway to Hope, Alaska.
There you go, yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, there are situations where I have to do Google Earth and take a look at something and see it, but I've already been there, but I'm trying to recollect certain things and I want to make sure I get it right, But all those things like that, everything in these 3 books is a place that I've been. And for most of the stuff in the new Skye Roanhorse book, the first one there, I've been to those locations too. But again, even with the new books, and these books, the first one's the first series as well, I've developed relationships with people that are in that world. Like the first Skye Roanhorse book, I looked for online if I could find anybody who has a character like this in a book that's the lead. And I found no one like that. So nobody had. I didn't want to be a Joe Pickett. I didn't want to be a Walt Longmire, So this is something totally new and different, that I thought the aspect of this guy's past and what he does for a living now leaves so much to unpack throughout the series,
Mm-hmm.
So I developed him, and Skye Roanhorse is named Skye, Skye, because his mother was Scottish, and she named him after the Isle of Skye off Scotland coast.
Okay.
And he's part Navajo, part Scottish, and all the things that happened in his life lead him to where he is now. But I got to know and talk with the deputy director of the New Mexico Livestock Board. I've talked with people that are the directors of the University of New Mexico's Office of the Medical Investigator. I just got done a few weeks ago dealing with a person I met and got sent over to for the Bureau of Land Management in their what they call the horse and burro kind of thing, that they're in charge of all the HMAs, which is the horse management associations all around. So he let me in on that world, what it does with that. The BLM guy did that. And then the NMLB director let me in more on the investigator kind of world, and then the guy in charge of the medical investigator gave me a look into that world as well. So I'm getting all these different things and forming all these characters based on what I've learned from all these people. And it really is, to me, I think this book now is the best book I've written so far in the series.
Forget the other one.
It's getting better, It's not weird to say that, but I love that I'm growing as a writer as I go.
Right. And you're also learning new things. I mean, the things that we research and discover, we've been on this earth for how long? I didn't know this. I didn't know that. So
Exactly.
Now that I'm doing a book with new places, I love discovering new places and learning about them. Mm-hmm. Because my other series, and I know California, England, Ireland, I know those areas. So I'm branching out into areas of the unknown, which I'm enjoying. I really am. Just a few more things about this series before we move on to the next one is, number one, it's a trilogy. There's 3 books. Now, are they characters in all 3 books? Do they continue on in the books? And does the story continue on? Or is it individual stories within the trilogy?
Well, yeah, the main characters in the first 3 books, they will go throughout the series. The only real thread that I have in all these, if you pick, they stand alone books for sure, but mm-hmm. you'll see things in there referring to things that you won't know unless you've read the first 2 books.
Okay.
With Arthur and his wife, because I've got a string through there of what their situation is, the things they've been through, trying to get out of and get back to wanting to have kids again, trying to have kids again, and so forth. They had a stillbirth before the first book when it starts out, and they're trying to deal with that. He has his issues, she has her issues, and they butt heads back and forth every now and then, but there still is a basic nurturing love there that I want everybody to read and see and get that. And a lot of people do. A lot of people love the characters. They love Arthur's dog, Akis, the Timberwolf Husky mix, and the way he talks to him and the way things act between them two. But that dog was based pretty much on the dog we had at the time. That every mannerism that my dog Denny had is what he's got, So it's he's not with us anymore, but he's in my books. So
there you go. He keeps on living through your books. That's the way to do it. It really is. And do you think you'll add to the series, or it's done?
What's that?
Do you think you'll add to the series? Do you think you'll write any more books?
Oh yeah, I've got 6 more titles and outlines written down. I've got I think 5 more for the Skye Roanhorse series titled and outlined. I'm I think 8 or 9 chapters into the 4th book of the Arthur Nakai series, and I'm about 8 chapters into the 2nd book of the Skye Roanhorse series.
You got a lot of work ahead of you and research. That's excellent. I'm looking forward to all of these. All right, I want to take a pause. We have a few more people joining us, and I see some questions going by that I want to try and catch. So let me start clicking on some comments here. I'm going to scroll back and see what we got going. Okay, Suzanne's joining us. She's joining us. Suzanne Samedi. Hi, Suzanne. She says she's really enjoying this chat. Karen, she wants to know, what genre will you not read?
Pretty much every other one but mysteries. I love mysteries. I've been reading mysteries all my life. Mm-hmm. And I've read literally 1 nonfiction book in my life. And I remember I was like 12 years old. And I remember my teacher asking me, seeing it on my desk in the schoolroom, and goes, are you reading that? I go, yeah. He goes, and you understand that? I go, yeah. You know, because I was reading Patton, Ordeal, and Triumph, you know,
Oh my
about General
Lord.
Patton, you know. So,
Right.
but that's it. I have other my favorite authors, mystery books. I read those. I don't really get into other situations of reading things.
There you go. And then Lori has a question regarding genre. She wants to know what genre, if any, would you consider writing, or do you like to stick with just one?
I'll say right now, I like to stick with the genre of contemporary mysteries set in the Southwest. I do have an idea in the back of my head, only because after my father passed away, my wife and I were cleaning things out, and she's read them. I haven't read them yet, but she found all the letters that my parents wrote back and forth when they were dating,
Oh, wow.
when they got married, and through their life up to a certain point, you know. So my one thing would be, I think one day I will sit down and read those, maybe formulate something with that and do like a book just about them, you know.
That would be an incredible story, and it would keep their legacy going too.
Yeah, I did. She did tell me that I was a very troublesome child, you know, and you know.
You know.
Oh no, yeah, you know. At one point it was so funny.
Oh,
She says it was so funny. She said that my mother wrote to my father that she took me to visit my grandmother, his mother and father, and I was so ornery. She said, "You have to leave."
Okay.
So whatever age that was, I don't know, but she took me
it
home.
Must be the name. My son is named Mark, and he was a troublemaker too. Must be something with that name.
Could be.
Could be. Okay, Karen Gary wants to know: do your characters talk to you?
Oh God, yes. Oh yeah, yeah.
Not the only one.
You know, it's. I think all of us have that aspect where they're in your head all the time, and it's. I always say, if you want to find out what a writer's life is like, watch the movie The Man Who invented Christmas, about Charles Dickens, because everything in that will make us laugh because we can equate to that, but it will let people into our heads because all our characters are up here all the time.
Totally. They live with us wherever we go. All
Constantly
the time.
saying things, doing things, no matter what I plan out. If I'm writing it, they will take over and they'll go a different route than I did to get around the ways to it, but it will end up the same place. But they will take control sometimes.
They do.
Their attitudes and the way they are will just come out.
Exactly. I can relate to you 100%. I'm going to add to that. It's why I don't plot my books. I just find it impossible because the characters will let me know that, no, this is not what I would do. This is not what I want to do. I'm doing this. And I'm just like, okay, all right. You know, so I cannot plot.
Oh yeah, they'll have dialogue I hadn't even thought of.
Yeah, I'm being like, where did that come from? So, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. I do want to put this up from Suzanne. This is when we were talking about you knowing the title before you write your books. She commented on that, and she says, I have a title for the book. I have a title for the book I'm writing now. It usually takes me longer to come up with the title, whereas you, and I find that fascinating, have the title before you even start writing. Have you ever changed the title? Has it ever changed?
The only one I did was Path of the Dead, because it was changed to this only because the publisher did, market research, and decided it was originally titled Navajo Wind. And they put it out there, got several things back and forth, and so forth, and felt that since I wasn't Navajo, I couldn't call it Navajo Wind. So I go, I love this too. They had somebody go through it, and she sent me 25 questions about things in the book and questioned them, and I looked at it, and I read through it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This, and I'll say it. This is this woke BS, And I'm looking at it and I go, you know what? I says, I'm going to call him. And I called him and we sat down there and talked. And I won about 98% of the arguments. So 98% of what they thought they had flagged is in the book. I made a change on one thing, on one sentence, and I changed the title because I had to, well, let me think about it, And actually, the person who had these ideas thought of the title. I liked it. I took out the words Navajo Wind and I formulated a different paragraph and put Path of the Dead in it to make it seem that way. But there was one thing they caught and I used the word when a mountain man is talking, every word I've heard in my life growing up in the old movies and so forth, where he called a grizzly bear a grizzer. And that's common knowledge to a lot of people. Yeah. That's what they call it. And well, that turned out to be, she said, something questionable because that referred to a certain part of the world, say a black person or whatever. And I go, okay, where is this? It took me forever to find a really, really obscure, like dictionary of things or whatever. And there it was. There I go. Okay, it took me 2 hours to find this. And you think somebody reading this is going to think that it's derogatory over a paragraph of a guy talking about a bear.
Sometimes really? It just gets ridiculous. It gets ridiculous of people. I mean, I'm not going to get into this, but I feel your pain when it comes to this BS is what I call it. Because just let me write my book. Just let me write my book. This is my story, and this is how I want to tell it.
Right.
Bottom line. Line. These are my words. And I get so tired. I don't know what you write your books in, but I use Microsoft Word.
Yeah, me too.
And I had to turn off there's something in there that I have to turn it off. Suggestions. Because I want everything to be neutral. If I say mailman, they say whatever it is, male person, whatever. And so I'm tired of this. I want a male man. There's a reason why he's a male.
I've turned mine off too.
A love story, and he meets somebody, but I got so sick and tired of their suggestions of making everything neutral. I turned it off. I just turned it off.
So did I. I hate that suggestive thing. I just hated it. It kept annoying me, so I turned it off too.
Yeah, I turned it off. So, all right. A couple more questions. After the halfway mark and your reading, we're going to start talking about your other series, but I want to just catch a few more questions. Oh, Elaine's here. She says hello. Hi, Elaine.
Hey, Elaine. How you doing?
You here? And Kathy is here. Hey, Kathy.
Woo.
Connie is here. She says your books sound like some really great books to read.
I hope so.
Let me see. Okay, I'm going to try and squeeze in two more questions. I saw a couple. Let's put this one up from Elaine. When is your next book due out, Mark?
Right now, I don't know.
Okay, good answer.
That's just the way it goes. It's I've the next one that I have out that I've written is actually with my new agent, and she is passing it around to the big 5 publishers and all their derivatives down from that, and seeing if she can sell that. She loves it. She is seeing what I'm trying to do with it, and I was really flabbergasted, I guess you could say, when I was emailing her back and forth, and then we had an hour-long conversation. And after that conversation, I didn't realize it. And I'll look her up and see, make sure what's, who she is and what her background is and so forth, And I'm reading among her clients is Ann Hillerman. So
nice.
I go, wait a minute. I go to my shelf, pull Ann's books off, and I go, oh my God. Her name is in there, as her agent. So so I trust her with what I'm doing. She's based in Santa Fe. She knows what I'm trying to do. She gets what I'm trying to do. And she believes in this book, the first Skye Roanhorse novel, Bloodlines, so much. She took it on and she's trying to get it done. So more power to her. Cross fingers, cross toes, and hope it'll work out.
I believe it will. It might, like I said before we went live, it might. Sometimes it takes a little while, and sometimes it'll happen like that. So, but I believe it'll happen. Perseverance pays off. That's what I
Yep.
believe. So
That I believe that's true. Yeah, that is true.
So, Mark, I'm going to hand it over to you because you are going to give us a treat and read an excerpt from one of your books.
Oh, I'm getting put on the spot.
You are putting on the spot. I am putting you on the spot.
Yeah. Well, I have chosen.
Authors read from their books, and I know the readers do too. So it is all yours. Take it away.
I hope you all bear with me on this because I haven't done this very often, but it's going to be out of When Silence Screams. And this is the opening couple of pages here. I may mess it up, but we'll see what happens. April Minnie Goat's eyes flickered briefly, projecting snippets of images upon the canvas of her slowly awakening mind. As her consciousness sharpened, her eyes focused on the overwhelming darkness that surrounded her. The first sensation she became aware of was the icy chill of cold air that cloaked her naked body like a heavy blanket. The second was the rough and gritty surface of the wooden floor where she lay, which seemed to grip her adolescent shape like 1,000 frozen fingers of the dead. Through the foggy haze of her still emerging mind, she realized that her body was in a state of self-imposed weightlessness, a kind of transcendental void where her senses could reset and begin to feel again. Her eyes fluttered once again as she became more aware of the damp, musty darkness that hung in the air like a cloying mist. Her first thought was to try to move, but the ropes that had been wrapped snugly around her arms kept them in place. She tried moving her legs, but once again the firm grasp of ropes kept them still. She could feel the bottoms of her feet resting flat against each other, and the roughness of her heels as they shifted slightly. As she lay there, her eyes staring into the shadow of captivity, her ears began to search for any suggestion of sound. Hearing nothing but her cloudy mind could discern, she felt her heart sink even lower as the feeling of hopelessness began to take hold. With all the will she could muster, she pushed that feeling down deep inside to a place where she would be able to deal with it later. She could only she could only manage to move her heavily weighted head slightly to the left and right and backwards. Forward wasn't a direction available to her because of something that had been woven into her long dark hair that kept her head from moving forward in a natural direction. Her mind thought back to when this was the norm for some of her clients. Their sick, perverted game that made them feel like men. But this, she knew, was so very different. This of her previous life. She had quickly graduated from back alleys to clubs and onto the luxury hotel rooms of Las Vegas, but this was something terrifying. She wondered if anyone was looking for her. She wondered if her parents had gone to the police after she had never returned from their spot under the covered sidewalk of the Palace of Governors in Santa Fe during the Indian market. She took a deep breath and told her 19-year-old mind, of course they'd be looking for you. Why wouldn't they? Even after all these months had passed. The reality of it all, she considered, was that there had probably been Amber Alerts and social media notifications and flyers posted everywhere by her parents and her friends after the day she disappeared. But had anyone paid attention to them? And more important, had anyone who ever did ever seen her?
Wow.
That's how it starts.
That's pretty heavy. That must have been a hard subject to write about, especially when you talk to the woman this is the woman's story that you had mentioned earlier in the interview, correct?
No, that's the person that ran the woman's shelter that she was in at some point. But I made up this based on one of the things I first did was go on to Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women in USA, where they have all the flyers of all the missing girls. Mm-hmm. I printed out every one of those because I wanted to have a face with a name, because when I first read about that back in 2016, 5,712 girls and women were missing in the US and Canada off the reservations. So I wanted to have names to go with that. Didn't want it to be a number. I wanted to be invested in that. So I printed them all out, looked at them, and took a conglomeration of a few of the girls that are in there and made April Manygoats. I listened to interviews of parents who were talking about, the things you lose when someone goes missing. There's life on hold. There's no birthdays. There's no babies. There's no marriages. There's no any future you would have after that.
That's right.
Because all you think about is that, So what I did too is some profit, 10% from each book I sell goes to MMIW USA, and I've made donations now for the last few years. So I'm trying to keep that going. And that's a cause that every dollar they get goes to helping. If somebody, say, is found in a different state, and the people can't afford to have them brought back, they pay to bring them back and have them, buried and so forth. So every dollar goes toward the people, not toward the organization.
That's a great cause. And I also commend you for bringing this to attention in your book, for bringing it to light, because a lot of people do not realize exactly what's going on. We just turn a blind eye to it. And I think more people need to wake up and just realize what's going on. We're comfortable in our homes. We're comfortable with our lighting and our central heating. But there's poor women like, the one in your book. There's thousands of them. Thousands.
Oh, yeah. Well, I like to quote out one of the things somebody says in there that I put in that I heard once from somebody around there, was that it's hard to think that everywhere you go in this country was somewhere somebody was last seen.
Wow.
And it's a great place to go, here, there, whatever, yada, yada. But somebody could have been taken from there. You never know.
True. That's absolutely true.
The young girl in this.
I love the cause that a percentage of your sales goes to that cause. I do want to put up a few comments for your reading. That was really heavy. I enjoyed that. Thank you so much. Virgie says, great reading, Mark. Thank you so much. Tammy just showed up. I caught the read. Intriguing story from Janet. Karen says, wow. And then Karen Wright says, oh, my heavens, that's a lot of women and children. Darlene says, sounds like a very good book. Cindy says, how sad. And Leisha, hey, Leisha. She says, so sad for everyone. All right, moving on. Let's talk about your new series. This is called, I'm sorry, what is it called again? The Roanhouse?
It's the Skye Roanhorse novels, yeah.
Skye Roanhorse novel. Is any of them published yet? Oh, no.
No. The first one is with my agent getting passed around, so we'll see what happens, yeah.
Okay, and can you just give us, without giving, of course, too much away, just give us a little outline of book one, which will be, of course, the first one coming out, and what inspired it?
Well, again, I about inspiration. I thought of, something that hadn't been done before, and I wanted to write a new series, basically because when the third book came out of this series, the publisher didn't want to publish it, but then went up and still got Bronson Pinchot to do the narration of the audiobook. So with that, you get that aspect where, and the publishers out there don't want to take on a series where if they take it on and publish like a fourth book, somebody else will get the sales from the first three books and they won't. So unless they can buy unless you have the rights and they can buy them from you, they won't want to do that. So necessity instilled that I had to create a new cast of characters and a new series to be able to get out there fresh with that and try again. So while writing the fourth book of the Arthur series, this came to mind, and I went over that and did the whole thing and got that mapped out and done. So I was very lucky that a lot of these people in the jobs that I needed to talk to concerning the main character of Skye Roanhorse and other people in it, that I got their side of it and could ask them questions back and forth and meet with them. Hell, the guy that runs the deputy director of New Mexico Livestock Board says, next time you're out here, I'm going to put you on a ride around, So I'm like, I'm up for it. Let's go, yeah. So I want to do that. But, I can ask him anything, anytime. I can ask all of them anything, anytime, and they were glad to help me out. I have several Native American, Navajo people that I love on my Facebook page and that I've met that are always there to answer a question and help me out, because I want to be accurate. I don't want to make something up. I want it to be accurate. So if I have a certain thing about a Navajo way or whatever, I contact them and say, okay, is this true? If not, what is true? Yada, yada, and go back and forth. So they help me out. And one of them actually is a Chinle Navajo delegate for the council. So I've talked to her several times and emailed back and forth and texted back and forth questions and answers and things. So whatever I have in my books is accurate. I like the fact that I can do that, because my main thing is I want to be truthful, I want to be accurate and have a good story. So it all entails in making a good story.
Excellent. I love it. And do you know how many books are going to be in the series? Or
right now, I'm banking so far on 6. I have 6 titles and 6 outlines written. I'm trying to come up with this series, making them like one-word titles as a catch, of things. Like the first one's called Bloodlines, the second one's called Deadfall, and so forth, But it's just, I'm trying to have a little niche of that. I like that I'm doing that. And again, like this, Skye Roanhorse, again, his mother named him Skye because she's Scottish, and
right.
The Isle of Skye off the coast of Scotland, and his father's Navajo. There's that. He has gone through in the past where it opens up. He's reliving in a nightmare what happened to him one night with his officer involved shooting that was so traumatic for him that he spiraled out of control, lost his job, lost his family, his wife, and so forth, got divorced and ended up, alcoholic and so forth, until his friend that is a deputy director of the livestock board pulled him up and got him into, AA and got him straight and gave him a job. So he's back to doing what he's doing in a limited task, but he, being a livestock board inspector, he is cross certified to work with law enforcement. So that we got into that aspect of it. And, he goes to, in the first book, it opens up where he is going to a location where he's told to pick up 3 horses. And where he gets there, the person who has been murdered or dead, we'll say, is a guy he knows from a local, far be it from me to confuse things, but a bar that he goes to for food and so forth. He only drinks iced tea now. That's it. He drinks iced tea. That's it. Nothing else. Won't touch a drink, because based on a person I worked with a long time ago who told me, because he had been sober for decades, but he said, you know what? I can still watch somebody take a drink and I can taste it. So there is that. So he has a lot of that to unpack, we'll say, throughout the series, but I love the fact that I've got this whole thing woven together and it works out really well. I can say that, but you read the whole thing once through, and when she read it, she read the first 50 pages and then got back to me and said, I want to see the whole book.
I love it.
So that was good. But here's the thing too. It's funny that, she won't read it online. She says, you got to print it out and send me a copy.
Yeah.
No problem.
I have a hard time reading ebooks. I mean, I will, but my preference is always a paperback. I mean, that's just my preference. And I think, and I said this before, I think it's because I spend most of my day in front of my laptop writing a book, a paperback takes me away from all that. It just breaks me away, and I actually physically get to turn the pages. So I can relate to that. I do want to, there was a question here I wanted to pop up, and now of course I can't find it. But Robo's here from watching us on YouTube, and he obviously is an author, and some of the things you've been talking about, he's finding very helpful. But he had a question earlier that I wanted to know. If I can remember it now. Oh yeah. What is your favorite tribe, or do you have a favorite Indian tribe, and why? That's a very good question.
Well, I like a lot of them. There's a whole bunch of different aspects of each one that is unique. I tend to gravitate toward the Navajo because way back, I'm 63 now, so way back when I was 12, my parents took me on vacation out west, and we went into that area. So that's when I got my first look into that and ruins and so forth and this and that and the history of it, that I kind of developed, I don't know, this affinity, I guess, for the Navajo people. And when I went back out to do research for the second book, I had talked to a person online, and I found her, and I wanted to ask her a question about the high school in Kirtland, and if this kid that lived here would go there. And that sparked a whole conversation with us about the whole area out there and so forth, and things she was involved with. So that when we went out there and I drove up to meet him, she had two people with her that she wanted me to meet. And one of them was a man named Arnold Clifford. And I learned a lot from him because he ended up being the encyclopedia of that area, because he was the foremost biologist and geologist of that area. And he could tell you everything about everything. And I recorded what he was saying about a tree. He said, well, where do you want to go? He first had to vet me first, to make sure why I was writing, what I was writing, that I wasn't trying to, make them look strange or whatever, or take advantage of the situation. But when he felt comfortable, he said, well, where do you want to go? I said, I want to go to the locations in my book. And then you can tell me about them, flora, fauna, history, whatever, geology. And he did that. So I came back with that information, coalesced it all together, and came up with that story, so it helps me get into that. And a lot of people I've had, one jewelry designer I dealt with once and talked to was Travis Tutt, and he made a ring for me, Indian ring, silver and turquoise and so forth. It's fantastic work. So I do. A lot of people I know I dealt with, and it just, for some reason, one of the guys that she brought, he's like, well, maybe you were a Navajo in a previous life. I said, well, could be, who knows? I will take it, and that'd be a good thing.
It sounds like you got a really good connection with him. It does.
Yeah, I try to be. They understand what I'm doing and that I'm telling the truth, and they like that I'm writing about things they deal with on a daily basis.
And then Lisa put a comment up here. She says, my son-in-law is Navajo, and my grandkids are registered as Navajo.
Yep.
I wonder if she's read your book. Have you read his book, Lisa?
Know.
You don't know. Oh, and I see Luann is here, so I'm going to give a shout out to my editor, Luann. Hey, you doing, girl? I'm glad you are joining us. And she likes to read paperbacks too, but I just saw she's here, so I had to give her a shout out. All right, I am talking with Mark Edward Langley. I do want to let you people, our wonderful readers, know we have about 10 more minutes left of the chat. If you want me to ask Mark some questions, pop them in the comments, and I will gladly do that. But Mark, I do have some more questions for you. Number one, I don't call it writer's block. I just say my characters are not talking to me. They just won't talk to me. That's what I call it, not writer's block. It does happen. When it happens to you, and I know it does, we have stubborn characters. Well, I know I do. What do you do to solve it? Do you try and fight it? Do you shake them? Do you slap them, or do you walk away?
Well, I think what my dad told me a long time ago is if you run into something where you're stumped on or you're stuck, get up, walk away from it for a while, do something else, come back and sit down and look at it, and you'll get a different perspective. That's happened a lot. That's worked for me, at least, and I'll get up and go out in the garage and put around, or do something, or whatever it may be. And I'll come back turn my music on, to give me inspiration and just reread what I have written and then maybe change a few things as I reread that. So then they'll wake up and start talking again. That's why I said, watch that movie, The Man Who Invented Christmas. You'll find out exactly what it's like up here.
I'm gonna have to.
You should. Every writer should read that. Every person who loves writers should read that, because that tells you and shows you exactly what's going on inside the head.
The Man Who Found Christmas, is that what it's called?
The Man Who Invented Christmas.
Oh,
Charles Dickens writing Christmas Carol.
I'm going to be looking that one up. I've never seen it. I'm going to do that. And I want to pop up Lisa's answer. She says no.
Hey,
but
Lisa.
I've read Tony and Anne Hildeman among other Southern Western writers, because she has mentioned her family, but son-in-law. I think it was son-in-law and grandkid in Navajo. Do you write every day, Mark?
I try to set aside time, times to do that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, depending on what is going on. I will try to do it every day. I wish I could stick to that every day and do that. But with the way life is right now, it's like I try to segment Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then leave Tuesday and Thursday for my wife and I go out and do things and whatever we need to get done, and the weekends for the grandkids. I have 2 4.5-year-old granddaughters that I cannot be alone, be separated from. I got to be with them, But I try to write 3 days a week if I can't. Whatever works is works. But it's come and go sometimes. It is, because if I get stuck on something, I want to try to work it out first before I sit back down and try to change it.
I hear you. And your granddaughters are twins.
They are, yeah. They are crazy.
They're 4.5. They're 4.5. Yeah,
4.5. Yeah.
Wow, because I think I saw photos of them when they were like 2, and they're adorable.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're the best thing that could have happened to us. Yeah. It's just one of those things that I love them. My wife loves them. We can't do without them. And they're starting to sleep over every now and again now, which is a difficult thing sometimes.
Yes.
But they have their own ideas. They have their own, personalities and so forth. And they're 4.5. They're going to argue back and forth. They're going to fight this and that and so forth.
Yeah.
And if anybody out there watching can let me know, that I'm sure it's a broad spectrum thing, but every Barbie doll they have has to be naked. I don't know. It's, they come in, the first thing, clothes go off, and here you go. So okay.
There you go. My older sisters are twins, and they were into Barbies. I was not. And the thing, I was the devious younger redhead, and every time they got new Barbies, I would cut off their hair. I was so mean.
Ooh, you're so cruel. You're so cruel. Yeah.
I was so bad.
Oh my God.
Okay, there's one final question. I'm going to be wrapping this up pretty soon. But Mark, Alicia says a lot of quality time with grandkids is the best. But I want to give you time to answer this. You're on an incredible journey. I really, really want to congratulations on all your books that you've written. They sound fabulous. I am guilty. I have not read one yet, but they are on my reading list. I will get there. I promise. But from the reviews I've seen, the feedback I've seen, the people that have read your books love them. And they praise you in my group. Yeah, you've been in my group many times. And I always see praises for your work. They love having you there. And please come back there anytime, by the way. You're always invited in my group. We all love you in there.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate it very much.
My final question for you, and then we'll be talking about the giveaway, is for an author that's just starting out, not published yet, wants to be published, what advice do you give them?
Oh, I get that asked a lot.
That's why I want to give you time to answer.
I think basically it's different answers than I guess people would normally get. Is that my whole thing is starting out with it, trying to get it all done. It's you can't let anyone deter you from wanting to do it. I heard times before with the first book, people at my jobs and so forth and this and that. Well, James Patterson, Robert Parker. I said, well, you know what? They're not Mickey Spillane. They're not, any writer before them. They're not Hemingway. Everybody is different. I'm who I am. I'm going to write the way I do. I'm going to write like me, So your dream is your dream. It's not anybody else's dream. And they can't understand why you want to do what you want to do. So don't let anyone deter you from wanting to make your goal come true. You know, you can talk about ways of writing and this and that and the whole mechanics of it, but it basically comes down to believing in yourself and knowing what you can do and do it.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. I love that. And I'm going to add to it by saying just never give up.
Yep.
Just never.
Perseverance. Perseverance is the key.
Yeah, it is. Just like with you trying to, not you, but your agent going through the traditional publishers. There's perseverance will pay off. Now the giveaway. I want to talk about that real quick before we wrap this up and let our readers know what you're giving away, Mark.
Well, I will give away a signed copy of the first book in paperback. And along with that, we'll get a bookmark along with that. And an Arthur Nakai sticker to put on your truck or mailbox or lunchbox or whatever.
What a fun giveaway. And we talked about this before we went live, and we decided you are going to pick someone on our live chat right now. So I'm going to let you do that.
Oh, let me go back through the list here and see all these.
Meeny, miny, mo.
Yeah. Let's see. I think they have to be in the USA, by the way, too. So
and all of these people here, I'm 100% sure are in the US. If you're not, am I mistaken? Please put it in the comments right now so Mark knows, because shipping out of the US, I'm afraid, is just ridiculous. It's $26 a book. But I believe everyone that's watching us is in the US. So I think you're safe.
That's one of the reasons I had to put a stop to shipping to Canada.
Yeah.
Because, you buy the book for $15.99 when it was out, like that. And it's $16 to get it to Canada.
It's insane. And I mean, I hate to do it, but we just can't.
I know, me too. But you can buy them on Amazon all over the world. Yeah. Canada, UK. Exactly. I'm getting sales from UK and Australia. It's crazy.
Exactly.
But
all right,
I'm looking here, and why don't we choose Linda Callan Clark?
Linda Callan Clark. Congratulations, Linda. So is it okay if Linda reaches out to you, Mark, through Messenger, Facebook Messenger?
Sure, she can do that. She can go to my website and use the email on that right there and get right to me. Yeah, either way she wants to do it.
Okay, so Mark, and you're under Mark. Okay, Mark Langley on Facebook or Mark Edward Langley on Facebook?
It's Mark Edward Langley for the online there. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, Linda, congratulations on that, and be sure to leave a review for Mark after you've read the book. And now, I went away there for a minute. Hello, I'm back.
The power off in California?
I'm back. I also do a giveaway every time on this chat, and that is a $5 Amazon gift card. And most of you know how this works. You need to go to my author page and share this video with all your favorite readers, your favorite groups on your own page, and tag me in the comment so I know that you shared it, and you will be entered in the $5 giveaway. I'll give you some little time to do that, and I will announce that winner in the group in an hour. Mark, this has been a fabulous chat. I love it.
I love being here. Thank you for having me. And anybody can go to markedwardlangley.com. They can log on to that and become a member of Members Only. Get the newsletter once a month. Feel free, please, to go to the websites of Instagram, Facebook, X, whatever, and join me there and follow me on that. And we'll have a good time for the rest of the time we have in life.
Sounds good to me. And all of Mark's links are in the text above this video, where you can actually click on them and follow him. One more thing, Mark, before we wrap it up, can you just let the readers know where they can find your books and in what formats?
Right now they can find every format: hardcover, paperback, ebook, audiobook, and so forth. You can get them Amazon, your bookstore, my website, markedwardlangley.com. You can get all the swag, we'll say, and so forth on that, But all the books are on there. If you're local in the area, I've got 2 signings coming up. So I'm dealing with that this month, so it'd be a good thing there. But they're all over. I mean, if your bookstore hadn't got it, they can get it. All of them are available to be gotten there. So
Perfect.
anything online, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, whatever. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's been a great chat. And thank you so much, readers, for joining us. And
Thank you all.
I will announce the winner in the group for the $5 Amazon gift card in about an hour. And Mark, I'll hand it over to you to say good night to everybody.
Good night.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your night.